Twitter account and then pretend that you're like Kim Kardashian or whatever. It's, I mean, as much as you would like to, and it's a very empowering thing to be behind the computer and say whatever you want, but ultimately it means nothing because you've accomplished nothing.
Right.
But we're living in a world where kids are handed a trophy that's spray painted gold and told to feel good about themselves when every kid on the team gets the same thing. It means nothing, essentially. Like when I used to, the very brief time that I played sports, they handed out the trophies, and I'm like, this doesn't make me feel good about myself. Like, I didn't earn that. Everyone else is getting this. So,
you know, and I see what you're saying. It's there's kind of a fine line there. You know, we want people to have that sense of self-esteem and confidence, which sometimes the thought is that by celebrating everything, you start to instill that, but you start to get desensitized to it, like what you're saying. And it was interesting. There was a commencement ceremony at either a high school or college, I think a couple of years ago, where it was just that. It said, "You're not special." Okay.
Yeah.
And it was at an Ivy League college, and so an Ivy League college, and the speaker saying, "You're not special," to these Ivy League students that are graduating, right? And the point was that the world is really concerned with what you do, not how you feel about yourself, but really what you do.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of where we could potentially do a disservice by celebrating everything. Mm-hmm. I think when we celebrate things, we should be specific about it, and it should be really relevant and authentic.
Yeah. And I think one more thing on bullying is it's part of the growing process when I'm not saying every kid needs to be bullied, but I feel that it's something that you have to deal with. Everyone has to deal with it once or twice in their life. Mm-hmm. Everybody, and I always say this, everybody has been a bully, everybody has been bullied, and those teach you two fundamental lessons about life. But when it's contained like our past generations, where they were sort of, you had your altercation at school and you went home and you were done, but now it's the internet is making things forever. Right. Like if I had a kid, I don't want to, but if I had a kid,
all in good time.
Yeah, if I had a kid, I gotta get a wife first. That's hard enough. But if I had a kid and he reached my age, say, and he hadn't been bullied or been a bully, I'd be like, well, what's going on at that school? You know what I mean? Like, not that it's just part of the growing process. Right. And I in my life have been a bully and been bullied. You don't feel good about yourself, and then in the long run, you don't feel good about yourself with the other one. And it teaches you two fundamental lessons. One, how you feel when someone puts you down, and how it feels to be on the other side and go, wow, I never did anything like horrible. But you look back on stuff and you go, man, that was kind of a jerk move. And so
and so you do bring up a good point, because part of being a human being, I think, really is finding where you are in society, and some of the ways we do that are pretty animalistic. It's when you see vulnerability, sometimes a human instinct is to exploit that, is to look at where someone's vulnerable and go after it. And then I think it takes, as you start to mature and have more of an understanding of what different consequences are and really being responsible for what you say. I think that's where you start to really develop as a human. And so I think it's people that can recognize certain things that they've done or said that have been damaging to others. Being able to move on from that and grow in that area, I think is an absolutely natural part of being human.
And by the time you reach high school, you should have grown out of that bully phase, and with people sort of, like I said, telling everyone they're special and them cracking down so hard. If you don't learn those lessons early in life, you're going to learn them. It's sort of like chicken pox. When you get it when you're a kid, it doesn't hurt you, but when you're an adult, it might kill you. It's the same thing with being with bullying and how to respect others. Learn it when you're a kid, because it's going to be so much worse when you get to be our age. And
I agree. You know, I mean, I'll be honest with you. When in high school, I did very well. I was top 10 in my class, and then I went to college, and I remember the first paper I got a D- on it.
Yeah.
The first paper in this class that I loved, I got a D-, and I was devastated. You know, I wanted to go up to the professor and be like, "Wait, no. You don't know who I am, apparently.
Yeah.
So I don't get D-." But that's kind of from that same mentality of feeling, oh, of course not me.
Yeah.
Okay? But what I really got from that is that, you know what? We all have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And that is something that we should be doing our entire lives.
Yeah. You never stop learning.
No. And I think, you know, bullying doesn't even stop when you're in high school. Bullying will exist. It exists in the workplace.
Yeah.
It exists, I would say, probably more among adults than it does among adolescents and young adults.
Yeah. I just want to add one more thing to this bully thing before we move on. I think we kind of need to use common sense when disciplining bullies and kids who are because some stuff is serious, but then other stuff is kids joking around and being like, "Oh, that shirt looks stupid," and then you know what I mean? Like you can't crack down hard on everything. You got to say like, "Oh, you might want to just lay off."
You're right, and a key component of bullying is the intention behind it.
Yeah.
And so when friends are joking and it's in like a sense of camaraderie, you know, sometimes it can go too far.
Yeah.
But when it's in that sense of camaraderie, and it's a way that we relate to each other by joking, that's pretty appropriate, and that would be I would consider that to be appropriate for high school students.
Yeah.
The problem is when it clearly bothers another student and it persists.
Yeah.
So, and I get what you're saying with regard to the consequences for it. And I think many of our consequences need to focus on education. Yeah. Because if you're just punishing for bullying, you're not really getting at the root of the problem, which is educating a bully about why that's not an acceptable thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, both sides of the equation teach you fundamental lessons.
Yeah.
But moving on from that, I just wanted to wrap this up with asking you, what are your first impressions of Charter Oak?
Oh, I think this is a phenomenal school. I just, when I go home at night, I feel lucky to be here. Mm-hmm. I have to say, of all my jobs, I don't think I've worked harder.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing.
In 3 weeks already?
3 weeks? Well, yeah, exactly. A lot of the work was this summer, too, but it was, absolutely over these 3 weeks, and I really got that. I like problem solving, so it's probably a good job to be in. But no, this school has so much potential, and I know Dr. Ira is going to share a little bit about our assessment results from last year pretty soon, but we have a lot of things to be proud about, and I'm really proud to be part of the school now. So,
well, we're glad to have you, and thank you for being on the first episode of the Bolt Live.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Ms. Wilcox, for letting me do this podcast. Again, the only official podcast of Charter Oak. We're planning on making it weekly, so subscribe on YouTube and visit theboltlive.com for exclusive content. Thanks. See you next time.